Glowing up sometimes doesn't start with you going up. You gotta go down.
No! Most of our time sometimes can be spent investing in other people's lives, looking into other people's lives. What are their journeys saying? I'm supporting them. How about supporting yourself?
I don't understand why everybody else, I'm giving up so much love, I'm giving up so much care, and I never get it reciprocated because you haven't done it to yourself first.
How do you balance selflessness and self-care? Wow, this episode wasn't meant to go here.
But we went there. Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Renee.
And I'm Courtney, and we are your online big sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
Now, we are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's conversation, we are going to be talking about the glow up. Woo-hoo. Yep, you've probably heard it. We're going to be talking about the realities of self-improvement and working on yourself. Now, you've probably heard about the glow up and our good sis Ciara telling us to level up. But when it comes to, growing and glowing in your mind, body and soul, what does it really take? We're going to be talking about practical tips on how to invest in yourself to ultimately become the woman that you want to be, whilst also we're talking about the hard truths of going on that journey of self-improvement. I'm so excited. I feel like women are often the people who people target for like self-improvement talks, but no one ever talks about the hard realities of trying to work on yourself and the mental torture that it can sometimes present.
Exactly.
But before we get into that, we have a what? A dilemma. Yes, today, I'm not going to lie, this one is a long one, but it's a juicy one.
Oh goodness, I'm really excited.
Straight from our sis in South Africa. Shout out to you, baby
Shout
girl.
out to our South African listeners.
Yes.
You know how crazy that is.
Far and wide, sisters all over the world.
That's crazy.
Okay, cool. Let's jump straight into it because I'm not going to lie, sis. Open your ears. This tea is juicy. Okay. Hey, sisters. Firstly, I want to say thank you for opening this platform for women across the world. I love you guys so, so much. Aww, love you too, baby girl.
Love you, man.
So I met this guy last October. We kicked it off and have been dating ever since. We've been dating for 7 months now, and I have noticed characteristics and character traits about him that I don't want in a partner. He once said he doesn't believe in saving money.
Oh.
Okay, that's number one.
No.
Number two, he once said in an argument that he is the head of this relationship.
Oh no.
Excuse me, what? Where being a head of a relationship is earned. Capital letters.
Okay,
earned,
girl,
okay?
yes.
He's the type of person who blows money in an instant. His money management skills alarm me.
Not alarm.
She said the bells are ringing.
They're chiming.
All of the lights are going off. Yes, his money management skills alarm me. He once made 23k in 1 week, and that's South African rand, I think. But if it's GBP, sis,
if it's GBP, you gotta go. You gotta go. No.
She's gotta stay. 23k GBP in a week.
But what have you blown it
That's
on?
not the dilemma anyway. He once made 20. This is a good question though, because she says he once made 23k in 1 week and blew that within a couple of days. I find myself having to constantly give him money to solve his problems. I once mentioned that I would like a personal trainer as I work out regularly, and the first thing he said was, "So you're telling me there'll be other men touching you?" Yuck. He's not a... She wrote yuck.
Okay, I was about to say, because if it was him that said that.
No, that was her response. Yeah. He's not a person I can rely on. I want a person or a partner who can keep his word to me. I'm a transparent person who believes in talking things through and finding common ground. But through all the conversations I've had with him about what I'm not happy about, I always feel like my feelings are invalidated. Here's the thing. I've worked so hard on my personal journey that I have become selfish with my effort, resources, and time that I don't think I'm willing to compromise on what I want in a partner. I have had to do the dirty work, educate myself on finances, dig deep into why I am the way that I am, etc. To the point that I'm simply not willing to be with someone who doesn't compliment me and cannot provide me with a challenging environment that I can grow in and thrive in. I feel so conflicted because we really do get along and he is a nice guy, extremely sweet. It's so hard breaking a nice guy's heart, but I have goals and I cannot afford having someone like that in my life at this point. I'm turning 23 in June, working for an international edtech company, thriving in my career, achieving great things as a young Black woman, and I still have a lot I want to explore. I don't think I'll be able to do so in this relationship. I feel like I'm gaslighting myself and giving myself all the reasons why I shouldn't leave this relationship. Help. Love from South Africa.
Oh, love, sis.
Baby girl, you are in a predicament.
Courtney, don't kill me. Don't kill me.
No, but this is the real of the situation. Yeah?
Yeah.
What happens when you've been working on yourself so much and you've glowed up in every way? Life is doing well, and now you've got a partner who doesn't complement that journey. What should sis do? There's so many things you could cover on this, but I really want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, there's a lot to dig into here. And it was, as you were reading out the dilemma, it really made me reminisce on our episode on marriage and the modern woman.
Yeah.
And the fact that many of us get to stages in the dating phase, like maybe 6, 7, 8 months in. And because we're so invested, we feel like we just got to push on. Like we have to keep going and all of that kind of good stuff. And this doesn't necessarily feel so much as a dilemma, but more so a validation of a decision I think our good sis has already made. Just the way that it was phrased, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's some red flags there. I can't lie to you. There's some, they crimson. They crimson.
They red. They bloodstained, baby.
Stop it. They red, they turning burgundy at this stage.
The flags are flagging.
I think, the first red flag, he doesn't like to save. I mean, in this economy, in any economy, you need to be able to put away money or just
responsible with money.
Do you know what I mean? And I think conceptually, I think the idea of spending versus saving is one of the cornerstones of any thriving relationship, whether it be a romantic one or otherwise. You need to make sure that your values are aligned, and that for me is actually a value. So it might just be the case that there's no complementing there. There's no, even the example
compatibility.
Even the example of blowing 23k in whatever currency in a matter of days, I would want to ask, like, what did you blow it on? Like, was there an emergency? But the fact that you phrase it as this person has blown this money means that it wasn't particularly important things, right? So there was red flag number 2.
Massively.
And then, what was it? The whole personal trainer situation?
Yeah, so you're telling me there'll be other men touching you?
I think that one is actually quite techie.
Right.
First of all, I definitely understand, like, sis needs to glow up, or if she feels like she needs to work on her body, and that's perfectly legitimate. You should feel, comfortable enough to pursue that. I won't lie, I have spoken to a couple of, like, my male friends, and they do feel, some of them do feel uncomfortable if you have, like, a male trainer.
Okay.
Not necessarily because of the woman, but because they can't trust, they feel like they can't trust the guy. However, for that to be your initial response to, your woman or your partner coming to tell you that I want to, work on my physical health, it's a bit of a red flag. More so not necessarily the content, but like if that's the first thing that came to your mind.
Yeah, and not to just have a rational conversation about, okay, can she just be a woman? Like, can the personal trainer be a woman? Exactly
this. And it's actually perfectly fine to say something along the lines of, I'm really excited for you. I'm really happy that you're taking your physical health seriously. Obviously the decision lies with you, but it does make me feel uncomfortable that you've decided to pick a male trainer. I think that sounds reasonable,
very sane,
but the whole other men are touching you sounds very possessive to me.
Very possessive, very jealous, and a bit controlling. And that's not the energy we try to give off.
Exactly this. And I think that, look, when it comes to deciding whether a relationship is worth pursuing, you need to make sure that you're compatible on your values first. And then when you've decided that there is compatibility there, you can compromise. Values are not something that you should compromise on at all. And I think it's making the distinction between like values and correctable traits is really, really important. Values, they can change, but they take a long time to change. Probably longer than the span. Shift. Exactly. Probably longer than the span of your relationship.
100%.
So I think it really reminds me of the fact that, the whole conversation that women have around potential, right? Like, oh, should I invest in his potential? Should I, whilst I'm glowing and growing, should I just be invested? Listen, this is not a Bob the Builder situation.
This ain't Build a Bear.
This ain't Build a Bear. This ain't Build a Man. By all means, you should be investing in your partner and you should be, helping them along their goals. But at the same time, you need to make sure that there is a foundation there already that exists outside of you. Yeah. And you need to understand that you need to ascertain whether your values are in alignment for that building to actually work. It's like trying to build a house of cards, right? Or like trying to build a house on a really, really shaky foundation. Yeah. If the foundational principles are not there, you can build as much as you like, sis. When the wind blows, that's it.
It all falls down.
It all falls down. So for me, I think there's some red flags there. And massively. I think you've seen them.
Of course.
And feelings and the fact that he's a nice guy will not stop the cracks appearing 5-10 years down the line. In fact, you'll get to a point in the relationship where you actually start to resent the person.
Big facts.
And then it won't even be a case of, should I break this guy's heart? But you're also breaking your own heart and the people, the ramifications of that decision, right? I think it's like ripping off a Band-Aid or like...
quick and clean.
Exactly. Or stitching up a wound as soon as it opens. It's going to hurt, but you'll heal much, much more quickly than if you leave the wound to fester and get infested. Then it's a whole, you got gangrene, sis, you got an infection. But Miss Courtney, I would love to hear what you have to say.
You know what? No, you've touched on it. Like I think the element that I wanted to touch on is exactly what you said. You've seen the red flags. I feel like your tone in said email, you want to break up with this man. Okay. And that's okay. And I get exactly what she's saying. I think the heart of it is she's trying to convince herself that maybe she's making a bad decision, or maybe she's asking for too much because he's a nice guy, right? And this is the thing. Oftentimes we think we're breaking up with people and the breakup is because they're unbearable. It could simply be because of incompatibility, right? I think we're looking for reasons to be like, do I have, like, maybe there's enough reason to stay. He's not the only person in the world, right? But also in terms of, like what she said, I've become selfish with my efforts, resources and time. I think what's important is in helping somebody else go through a journey of self-improvement, there has to first be a willingness from the person. You can only help people as much as they want to be helped. And I think in this situation, if you've had, honest conversations with him, first of all, if he wants to engage in those conversations, but if you are having honest conversations with him and what he's revealing to you is that he has no intentions of working and no desires on working on himself, right? Because you can tell somebody like, why don't you, invest your money like this, or thinking that, I'm trying to build a man. But if that man doesn't want to be built, Bobbiana, take your tools, go back to your home.
Be going.
And have a good night's sleep. Because some people don't want to be helped.
This is true.
And you can't force it either. And what's important in this situation is to I think have a conversation that lets him know maybe you're just at different stages right now. And you look, because I know when I hear a lot of guys who have become a bit reckless and ruthless in their approach to women, it's often because a situation like this happened. Maybe they were a nice guy, but not everything was patterned up, and then a girl came, broke his heart, quote unquote, and now he's turned into a future junior, a literal savage, right? This is not your responsibility, and it's not anything you should feel guilty about. I think what's important is to realize you're not breaking his heart. You're actually making a rational decision of having to step away from a relationship. You're not telling him he can never speak to you again and there is no future prospect for you to ever get back together. You're just saying, where you are right now, where I am right now, we're actually not helpful for each other. Because like Renee was saying, I could potentially end up resenting you. And you could potentially end up getting extremely frustrated with me because there's no room to compromise here. Because you're asking me to compromise. For example, the female trainer thing, that's a compromise, right? But telling or getting somebody to kind of renounce things that are really important to them, like you said, values, that's a huge ask of someone, which I think is heartbreaking in itself. So at the end of the day, if you're not compatible with each other, sis, you just got to let him go. I can't tell you how to break up with him though. I feel like it's one of them, You just got to have a very awkward but very sober conversation about we're not compatible for each other. And I don't think right now we are compatible for each other. Everyone always cusses me when I always leave room for hope.
Yeah.
Like during a breakup, I always leave room for hope. Because it eases my feelings.
Sorry for this man.
But it kind of eases my feelings. Like, we're just saying not right now.
Yeah, but then it will impact your capacity to engage with other people too.
Why?
In this whole not right now, some people are the kind of folks that, she said not right now, so I'm just going to work on myself and come back. Yeah,
that's fine.
But then should that be the reason that you go and like work on yourself?
Everyone needs a motivating factor.
It can't be me. We're not together.
Oh no, I hear that though. But I think it's perfectly fine for a man to say, you know what? I realize I want to be with you. I'm not a man though, so I might be romanticizing this in my head. Mm-hmm. I want to be with you. And you're telling me that I need to change in some areas in order to have you. Maybe he considers her to be that one that he wants. And so he's going to go off and change and improve in those areas. I get that your primary reason shouldn't be for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I guess we're going to talk about it later in this episode, talking about being internally versus externally motivated. But if that I am one of your motivating factors, did it not end up for good?
I'm screaming.
Because what else do you expect? He's not. What if this guy, okay, so I'm kind of going to flip the scenario, yeah? Sorry, me and Renee always have these scenario situations. Yeah. What if the guy, they break up and he does go off and work on himself and then come back and be like, you know what, losing you made me realize I needed to pattern up, and I've patterned up.
But would he then also be accepting of the fact that she may have moved on?
This is it. So you have to, But me saying there's an open window for opportunity, it just means I'm never not gonna talk to you again. Like, I'm not throwing you out of my life. I'm just saying, like, to be in this position in my life, we can be friends, but to be in this position of my life, of my boyfriend or my partner, that comes with responsibilities that you're not looking like you want to bear. So you're not going to be in this position. Mm-hmm. Someone else might come and be in that position. Yeah. And once they're there, you got to respect that. The position is filled. It's like when you go to a job interview. Yeah. You don't have the qualifications to be in this role that you're interviewing for. So you go off, you get the qualifications, you improve your experiences. What if you then return back to the same establishment and someone else has that job now? You can't throw a fit. You go and find the position somewhere else. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. Or, happy days if you come back and the position is still open. That's just how life works.
I guess so. But then...
You can't be possessive.
Yeah.
You can't be possessive.
Yeah.
This is someone's destiny.
I mean, I think it really varies though. It depends on the person.
Some people are crazy.
This is it. Some folks will come back and be like, no, but I'm going to do anything that I can do to win you back.
That's manipulation though.
Or they become... the next Future or Nick Cannon.
Yeah, you ain't gonna be not Nick Cannon. Why you gotta?
I had to say something, girl.
Anyways, I hear you. I hear that.
Yeah. I think for the part of the girl, she needs to let go of if she does feel any responsibility for what happens after their breakup.
Yes.
And I think that's very difficult. Fault. That's difficult for girls to do, because if you cared for this person and invested in this person, even though you've broken up and you may have said, not right now, there will still be a part of you, even if you do like manage to, navigate a friendship and stuff like that, there will still be a part of you that cares for the person. And if the other person, it's very much banking on the fact that this person can A, respect boundaries, B, respect you, and C, respect themselves. to be able to navigate that boundary and actually relegate themselves back down to friend or acquaintance. And that sometimes can be really difficult. Yeah. So it depends on where you're at with the guy. You may need like a temporary cooling off period or something like that. But I think it's positive to think that, you can spin around a breakup and like use the, breakup as motivation. But I think that would be too optimistic for a lot of folks in the sense that, there's some healing that needs to take place, 100. Especially in like today's society. I don't know if you've seen all of the like really God forgive me, but funny like storylines of guys that are like, this girl broke my heart and then I went off to become a millionaire and look at where she went and stuff like that. There are some folks that actually actively fantasize about your downfall because you've broken up with them. So I think treading that if you do decide to break up with a person, treading that post-breakup relationship very, very carefully is going to be key to like success.
That's wise, yeah.
However you guys end up, whether you end up back together, whether you don't, just making sure the boundaries are clear, making sure that there's respect all around, and making sure that you prioritize your own internal healing first.
Yeah, oh, that's good stuff. It's very true. Like, yeah, it's not your responsibility. I think it's about observing behavior as well. And everyone has to take responsibility for the way that they grow and move on. And like you said, heal from breakups. How he heals is actually none of your business.
It's absolutely not even a little bit.
But I think also observe his behavior in terms of, like you said, if boundaries are being crossed, then you've got to, put him further away. Then boundaries are all about, are you meeting the standard that is allowed for you to cross this boundary?
Exactly.
If you're not crossing the boundary. And if you try to, you, sir, are committing an offense. You need to move.
Not an offense.
But that's what boundaries are.
This is true.
Boundaries do you meet the criteria to cross this boundary? If you don't meet it and you cross it, you're in error. And I'm going to have to, there's consequences for that. Goodbye. But anyway, that's what this dilemma is really interesting. But we want to know, actually, what advice would you give our good sis in SA about this situation? Because I think a lot of us have kind of been there. You meet a nice guy, but he's not up to par.
He's just not there.
It's all right. It always works out in the end.
Yeah. Sometimes it just works out with y'all not being each other.
Facts.
That's
and
okay.
You've got to be all right with that, sis. Your good one is coming for sure.
Honestly.
But yeah, we hope that helped you. If you ever want to send us a dilemma, you can do so by emailing us at hello@tomysisters.com. You can also send us a message on Instagram at @tomysisterhood, and we'll probably answer it in episodes to come.
Yep.
But to jump into today's episode.
Yeah, I'm really happy about this one.
Yes, glowing up, leveling up. I've been seeing so much content around it, which I've actually really been enjoying. But I wanted to kind of talk, here in these, episodes and in our conversations, we're always honest. We're always real about the realities of certain situations. I think sometimes with leveling up, a lot of women look at it, it's kind of a romanticized concept. And a lot of it is also fueled because, like I was saying about Ciara, for example, level up. A lot of it is fueled by, if I level up, then I'll be able to basically attract a great partner. That's oftentimes the framing that I see with it. But we don't want to talk about it from that angle today. I want to give practical tips on growing up physically, mentally, and spiritually, but also give the real truth about what it means to do that and how sometimes it can cause, I guess, emotional stress or sometimes mental turmoil is the only way I can really think about it. So, and I'm talking about dealing with things like impatience, discovering that maybe you don't have as much discipline as you want to. How do you cultivate that? But also how to strike the balance between, like we were saying with the dilemma, being internally and externally motivated. So we're going to journey through all of that. But I wanted to first know and talk about, what does it mean to level up? And how important is it to realize that you have to level up at your own pace, rather than kind of looking at other people and trying to live and almost compete, right? She's lost weight, she's upped her money, or she just got another degree. Now I've got to level up. Is that really healthy? Talk to us about that.
Oh, leveling up. So for me, leveling up, as I was growing up, it took many different definitions. So before, it used to be a comparative thing where I will compare myself to other folks, and it's like, oh, this person has done this, so that means I must do this, or this person in my community has done XYZ, therefore I must.
And she hasn't got two heads.
She hasn't got two heads. We're from the same place. And now leveling up, to me, put simply, is becoming the best version of myself.
But what does that mean?
That's defined by me. I think this is where it gets a bit tricky, because we often define what our best version is by our proximity or our comparing ourselves to other people. For me, being my best self means that I am happy, I am healthy, and I am wealthy.
I am rich. I am that. Is that Dolce? Who's that? Anyway, I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am rich.
Have you seen those memes that are like, oh, you attract what you fear? Wealth. I'm
money.
afraid of wealth.
You scare me so much. Oh my God, happiness. I don't want to look at you. Cometh to me.
Not cometh to me. Hashtag manifesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I define my process of leveling up.
Yeah.
And that took me a while to get there, because I honestly didn't understand like what the process would look like, what that would mean to me. So I think in order to level up, you need to go through the process of defining what that means for you, what that looks like for you, and what the ramifications are of that too. So I think it's very much internally defined. Obviously, there are other factors that may go into it. So for example, me being a Christian, very, very much rooted in my faith, or, you know, there may be a couple of like cultural norms or a couple of things that I like, goals that I have.
Yeah.
But it always starts internally first. You need to define, what does your best version of yourself look like?
Yeah.
And for me, even the process, like, every so often I will sit down and actually redefine it, because sometimes your experiences change.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, things change and your values change, but making sure that you do that regularly, just so that you're on track and you know exactly what that means to you, is super, super important. So that's how I would define leveling up, at least for me. As for the actual process of doing that, it's not fun.
That was a serious thing.
It's not fun.
It's not fun.
And I love how you touched on the fact that sometimes we romanticize it, right? Leveling up is great. Like, you know, even the phrase we use, right? Glowing and growing.
Glowing and growing.
Okay, sometimes it's ugly.
Fam, glowing and growing looks like stitches sometimes. Blood and cuts everywhere.
It's not always pretty. It's not always, you know the vibes. Yeah. It's not always getting a nice aloe vera plant and popping it in your room.
Honestly, growing. Plant
it's
mom.
Like plant mom, hashtag plant mom. You know, this new ugly stage in my life. It doesn't always look like that. Sometimes it looks like, you know, you cried in your bedroom at God knows what hour, because you've realized that there's something that's really off about your character.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, man.
It sucks. You stink.
Not you stink.
Your character stinks.
It's a truth sometimes we have to accept. I love that you said that, because I think one thing that people forget about growth is that growth is painful. That when you're stretched, this is sounding like a motivational talk.
Come on now.
No, thank you. But when you're like, on a real though, when you're stretching yourself to literally, because it's like what we're doing with like physical training your body, right? If you're trying to transform your body, like grow muscle, lose fat, all of that, it takes strenuous work. Like your body is actually communicating to you, I'm tired, I'm in pain. When you lift, like you're lifting, right? PB is what currently?
I can do 110 for 5 reps.
110 kilograms. But if you were to up to 120, right? Or when you were hitting 110, your body was probably thinking, you are trying to kill me. Put this weight down, ma'am. Honestly, and the thing is, and everything else in your body, your legs, your muscles are all telling you we're tired. We've been stretched. And in order to really grow in strength and in capacity and to transform yourself, you have to put yourself through things which are frankly quite painful. Yeah. And I think sometimes in romanticizing the glow up and leveling up, we forget that this isn't about aesthetics and this isn't just about posting trophies. This is actually a journey which constantly has you reevaluating yourself. It can be emotionally draining, and these aren't negative things. These are the realities of life. You're going to have to identify your weaknesses, and you're going to have to commit to something. And I'm going to be vulnerable and transparent. Sometimes committing to something is what hugely reveals to me that I'm a little bit mad. Like, the impatience starts to pop out. I start to get frustrated with myself. And you start to see your internal thoughts towards yourself. Exactly. You're thinking, what this person, like you first mentioned, this person has been able to achieve X, Y, Z. What about me? Why am I struggling so much? And I think it's sometimes because a lot of the times in this leveling up journey, people don't post the fact that it can be quite depressing to think that I'm putting in all this work and maybe I haven't got as much change as I want, or the reality of success, that grinding hard, getting that degree, making that £1 million company, whatever, it took sleepless nights, you've lost your edges, you maybe your relationships have broken down, whatever it may be, it's not been easy. Or getting that marriage, or getting to that child, right? You may have gone through so many different things, but you've had to be disciplined, and you've had to keep growing. You've had to keep growing and going, even in the midst of pain. We need to talk about that, especially as women, because we are the ones who find it, not even we, everyone, like everyone can make it look so easy. Everyone can make leveling up. You've got the nice pink journal, you've got your nice, gym set, you're, posting, I'm just so happy to God for taking me through this journey. I am growing, I am, changing, or, I am wealthy, I am healthy, all of that stuff. But what does when you go home and you get into your bed and you might have to cry yourself to sleep, or you're frustrated at the lack of progress, what do you do?
I have so much to say on that, first of all. I think that gym and like exercise is actually a fantastic analogy for the whole glowing and growing process.
Well, this could actually segue us into talking about glowing up physically and in material stuff. We're going to talk about money.
We all talk about the money.
Health and wealth. So talk to us about
that. So common for the sisters is around body composition, right? Everybody wants to have a specific shape, or everyone wants to like lose weight, it seems, or everyone wants to like gain a booty and stuff like that. If we're going to take like, for example, weight loss, that's the like best example. Most people think that when you commit to the journey of losing weight, it's a linear process. So when you go and weigh yourself every single week, you've lost a pound, you've lost 2 pounds, you've lost 3. In reality, when you commit to weight loss, you might find a week or two where you gain weight. You might find a week or two where, the weight loss has plateaued or stagnated. And the thing is, when you zoom out, you realize overall you've lost weight, and there's changes in body composition that you need to actually account for. But if you were to hone in on like a weekly basis, you'd find it going up and down, zigzags. And I think that's such a beautiful analogy for the glowing and grow, like whatever the process, journey, the journey, in that it's not going to be linear. There will be some times where you have to take 2 steps backward in order to take more steps forward.
It's like the crypto market at the moment. You got to zoom out of that graph. You have to zoom out.
No, but sister, sometimes we've zoomed out and
there's no hope.
All
as well, to anyone with a crypto wallet out there, we're praying for you, sis.
It as well.
Mentally, I've been trying to hold myself together.
You gotta hold.
I've been trying to hold myself together, but guys, I'm this close to breaking.
This close, but it's okay. We're gonna get there in the end. So I think that understanding that the journey, when you commit to something, it's not going to be a linear journey. It will only be linear when you zoom out and look at your progress over a couple of weeks. And the point of zooming in is not to criticize, but it's more so to understand, if I am plateauing, what can I do to continue making this robust? So how do I adapt to change? So perspective is really key when it comes to like journeying. As for the physical glow up, that one is tough. We've spoken about like things that we've gone through physically as well, like in terms of body dysmorphia, eating disorders, the way that we see our body. I would say, particularly for all of the women that are listening to this, when it comes to your health and how you feel about yourself physically, I want you to be the best version of yourself physically. I don't want you to take a picture. By all means, you can have like inspos and fitspos and all of that good stuff. I want you to have an image of yourself.
This is it.
In your mind.
This is it.
When you are training physically. What do you look like at your best?
This is it. And that is your goal.
And that should be your goal. So like the whole comparative thing, right? That is the problem. Like, we need to center ourselves in our journey of glowing up. And it sounds so mad because you'd think that people would do that by virtue of going on the journey. But so often do we put other people, we think of other people. Do you think that me going to the gym and I'm thinking, I need to lift heavy, I need to put somebody else's like image in my mind for me to lift heavy?
But people use that as a motivating factor. I want to look like her. And I think sometimes it's okay. It can play... It can work in some instances.
It can.
But psychologically, I don't think it's the healthiest thing.
Not even a little
Exactly like you said, like you are centering someone else in your life in a position of perfection that you are aspiring to. ultimately you're not trying to morph yourself into somebody else. You're trying to be you. And you've got to spend enough time discovering and investing in yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, not other people, because so many of us, especially in the celebrity culture, influencer world we're living in, most of our time sometimes can be spent investing in other people's lives, looking into other people's lives. What are their journeys saying? I'm supporting them. How about supporting yourself? How about actually discovering?
and I don't know why that felt like an attack, but you know when it's like, damn, I need to do that.
But how about supporting yourself? Like realizing this person isn't the pinnacle of beauty.
Nope.
This person, like, I remember having a conversation with someone back in university, and we were talking about guys and stuff, and we were talking about a guy that she liked, and I was like, oh, but you know, his current girlfriend or love interest, like, she's this, she's that, she's this. Yeah, but I'm all those things too, just in a different way. And I thought to myself, you know what, you're so right. Like, it's so easy to make somebody the 100 and then measure yourself according to that scale. So maybe, you know, maybe I'm like a 42.
Yeah.
If she's 100, I'm a 42. But you're 100 too. You just got to figure out how to get to what your 100 looks like.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we need to reframe our thinking about that though, and that's why being externally motivated is a tightrope you've got to walk very carefully.
It's a tightrope, because even when we think about externalities, right,
those
things change 100%. Think of all the folks that get, like, for example, and this is not to put down anyone that does decide they want to get plastic surgery or have plastic surgery, but what is seen as desirable changes throughout the ages.
You said it before.
So you will go ahead and get something because you're so externally motivated, like get something done, only for you to be shelved in the next 10 years because now it's big bums out in. It's not, you know, big breasts.
You're not on
and
trend
vice
anymore.
versa. It's literally, you're not on trend. And it's just like, when you think about, you know, what are other people going to think about me, or like, how can I get myself looking like X, Y, Z? It's not genetically sorry. It's not genetically. No, it's not, Courtney. It's not. I need the sisters to understand this. It's not genetically possible for you to look like anybody else. And I think that even when we're thinking about a physical glow up, I want you to start with, what do I already have that I like?
Yeah.
Because we often go in with the mindset of like, what do I need to change? I could change this. I could change
I hate
this
about myself.
And really this is a theme that will continue to cover in all aspects of glowing up.
Yeah.
But you need to fall in love with the process. It sounds so basic. It's something that people have talked about.
Sounds so cliche.
So cliche. But I think because we've romanticized the process, people are not really deep in that. You've got to fall in love with yourself and the process, even when the tornadoes hit.
Come on. I think it's not even because we romanticize the process. I think we romanticize the result and we erase the process. The process is completely erased. People will tell you, no, it's a journey, but they don't show you that journey. And when we talk about the journey, we're not just talking about, you know, the good times. It's the bad times.
It's the bad times too.
And so when you start experiencing the bad times, it's easy to think you're down on your luck. It just never works for you. Everyone else has it better. Everyone has it better than you do. You're the one who always has a hard time. Nah, it's just people aren't always showing that part, and they don't have to show that part, but it's good for you to know that you're not the only one going through the dark days, the sad days, feeling like, especially in the physical aspect, I haven't lost as much as I wanted to lose, or maybe my money is dipping, I haven't hit my savings target.
Absolutely.
Those things are normal. So it's about going into the bigger picture, zooming out and realizing, are you closer to where you want to be than you were last week or last year or whenever you last checked? You know, are you closer? And I think also not checking yourself as often, but like you're saying, actually immersing yourself in the process, in the journey of actually discovering, am I doing better than I was before?
Exactly this. And like just zooming out as well, like we often like find ourselves really, really zoomed in on the minutiae and the details of everything. And just to carry on with the whole analogy of like losing weight, for example, the fact that we'll be checking ourselves every week and be thinking that, you know, how come I haven't lost weight this week? Or like, you know, expecting it to be a linear journey when sometimes the journey looks like zigzags. And that's actually fine, because when you zoom out in the grand scheme of things, you're making progress. And that's okay.
And that's what matters. That's actually what matters. So then I guess let's move on to talking about glowing up mentally, right? When it comes to mental glow ups. Obviously, we can talk about increasing your knowledge and like learning new stuff. But I think it's also about really investing in your emotional well-being, right? How do you glow up emotionally?
Ooh, emotionally. Well, the first thing that you can do to glow up emotionally is to check out our episode on generational trauma. Ad breaks, we just try to drop some things in there. No, but in all seriousness, I think it's great that you've started with emotionally, because often we start with the whole knowledge thing, right? It's like, oh, I don't know enough, therefore I'm not glowing up. Or like, I need to read books to get smarter. All of those challenges, like, read 52 books in a year to be a CEO, grandmaster, and all that kind of stuff. When really our emotional responses, particularly because we are emotional beings, are just as important. So in terms of emotional glow ups, the first thing that I would encourage anyone to do is to actually understand yourself. And that's why I signposted and flagged the generational trauma episode, because in that we talk about the fact that there are certain emotional responses that you may have that you don't understand, and it's important to understand where the root cause of these things are before you can build on top of it. So emotionally, how do you handle specific situations? A glow up could very well be you deciding to be a nicer person or very much and not even thinking about like how you engage emotionally with others, but also how do you engage emotionally and mentally with yourself? Like, what are the things and what are the truths that you are telling yourself? Like, how do you speak to yourself and engage with yourself when nobody is around?
This is the thing. I think taking time, when we're talking about investing in yourself, I think it's important to emphasize you need to start investing your time and your energy into you, right? Like, one thing about me, and this is just obviously we're always honest and transparent and vulnerable when we're around here, is I've discovered about myself, I have no issues investing in my work, in my businesses and stuff like that. When it comes to investing in myself, I often, like, my mum always used to say this thing growing up: Courtney, you don't have time for yourself. And I never used to get it, because I'm thinking I spend 24/7 with myself. But ultimately, as I've grown up, I'm starting to realize I don't actually give myself enough time for myself, right? Not just like giving myself time to learn stuff so that my output is better, but rather, do I spend enough time just sitting down and dealing with my own thoughts? Do I spend enough time cleaning my living space? Do I spend enough time, or do I view these things as selfish or insignificant, right? Do I spend enough time making my own food and making meals for myself? Do I spend enough time showing myself that I care about me? Because you can spend time with friends because you understand, I need to spend time with my family, I need to spend time with my friends for them to know I care. But we don't, and it's not just about spending time with yourself, it's about spending time caring for yourself, right? And whatever way that looks like. I'm not just talking about face masks and all of that. I'm actually talking about, do you spend, like, these days, I go to the gym and I am unapologetic about the time that I'm spending exercising. I'm not rushing myself to do it, because this is my time investing in myself. If I'm going to take time and take myself out to eat, or even just make myself lunch, make myself dinner, make myself breakfast, and spend time doing that and not thinking of that time as time wasted, especially in this hyper-capitalist world where everything is work oriented. For me, investing time in yourself to show yourself that you care. And I love that you said what you said about the internal monologue thing. The way you talk to yourself, your self-talk, is so important. I often think, if I spoke to you the way sometimes I speak to myself, you wouldn't be my friend. No. I can tell you that now. In fact, you would call the police.
I would.
I would be called...
Hello, officer?
I would be called a negligent abuser. It's really bad sometimes. Like, my internal monologue can be vicious. And one thing that I've been learning recently, my friend Beverly from Life of Layfield, please go and check them out here on YouTube. She got me to take an Enneagram test, which is a personality test, which basically drags you for filth. And I'm literally in an identity crisis from this test. It was basically telling me that, first of all, the word workaholic apparently was made for people like me. And yes, I do work a lot. Yes. Wow, that yes was very loud. Yes. I do work a lot, but I've got to learn to start investing my time in myself and seeing that as not just an investment that and seeing that not just as an investment that has to reap a huge yield, but actually because I love myself and that I care about myself. Also, what I've discovered is it's very easy for me to put my my self-worth and my value in the way other people see me.
Yeah.
And the way they approve of me or the way they affirm me. And what I found so interesting was, you know about love languages. Most people know about love languages. My love languages are quality time and words of affirmation. Two of the biggest things I don't cultivate in myself. And what I started to realize is it's so easy to go and search for other people to give you what you deny yourself. I saw this really powerful tweet that said, speak your love language to yourself. It's so easy to search for, especially romantic relationships, and latch onto people because they give you what you deny yourself. And it's the thing that you actually need. Why don't I give myself quality time? Why do I view that as a waste of time? And why don't I give myself serious words of affirmation and talk to myself with positive self-talk? But I expect that from other people.
Crazy.
Why do I expect other people to recognize my value, but I don't treat myself as though I'm valuable in those areas?
When you say it, it sounds mad. And that's because it is.
It's crazy.
It's actually crazy. I love the fact that you called it negligent behavior because it is negligent. No, it is.
Abuse.
It is. It's abusive.
Honestly.
And we live in a world where, because a lot of our functions are based on work or the opinions of other people, when you remove yourself from these situations, suddenly you're in a place where you're just like, so what do I mean? Like, do I mean anything? Like, why? I love the fact that you're talking about the fact that sometimes spending time with yourself seems like a waste of time because you are yourself. It's like Inception. Like, what, why? Why am I hanging out with me if I'm me all the time? I'm not jumping into anybody's body. This isn't flipping Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday.
But it's very much about being intentional with your time and what does that time mean to you. So for me, my love languages are, well, my top one is quality time as well. And it's only like more recently that I've been super intentional about spending time with me, doing things that I like, turning off my phone. Like, my do not disturb on my phone is on from 9 p.m. in the evening till 12 p.m. the following day.
Big man, till you can't get hold of
you cannot,
unless you are an important person, he's not going
unless you are an emergency or favorite contact, you will not get a hold of me. I don't care if, listen, your house could be breaking down. Unless we're close friends, unless we're
close for business at this current time.
Close for business. And the peace, it means that I can really focus on how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and all of that good stuff. And I think, in terms of leveling up mentally, one of the best things that you can do is to, first of all, focus on spending intentional time with yourself, or whatever like your love language is, or whatever you feel like you're giving out to other people. Like, one of the things that I always note on Twitter is, you know, sisters that will be coming on and saying, you know, I don't understand why everybody else, I'm giving up so much love, I'm giving up so much care, and I never get it reciprocated because you haven't done it to yourself first. You haven't. You know those folks that really love to characterize themselves as like, I'm a giver. I love to give. I'm a giver. How would you describe yourself? I'm so give.
Sorry. But that's exactly how it is.
There'll be I'm a giver. It's the shrug. Because you know you're giving all of yourself.
It's true, but you, to your own detriment.
And you're be out here saying that, oh my goodness, you know, so many people take advantage of me because I'm a giver. The common denominator is you.
You have no boundaries because you don't think you're valuable. Ooh. I said what I said and I meant it when I said it. Oh.
We're closed for business here. We're going to be passing the offering basket.
No, but on a real though. On a real, oftentimes we give so, and sometimes it's because we're giving so much of ourselves to prove that we're valuable.
Exactly. And sometimes it's so prideful, right? It's the whole, oh, look at how much I can give to this person.
Thank you. Sometimes the fundamentals and the foundations of our selflessness is selfishness.
Do you even have time to go into that one today, Courtney? Because some of us will be out here, look at how much I gave my boyfriend. I gave him everything. I bought him a car. I gave him XYZ. He's only purchased you socks.
Because you were using how much you could give to prove to yourself how valuable you thought you were.
He's only giving you socks.
Well.
But if you base your entire existence around how much you can give, why is it that you can't give to yourself too? Why is it like... I literally wrote an article on why being selfish is good.
In the description.
Yeah, you guys need to check it out. And not on like a tip of, I think it's like amazing. But I think it's a good reminder that sometimes the art of giving, you need to practice it on yourself first, just so that you know what it feels like, as well as you can establish firm boundaries as to when you're giving too much.
Yeah.
Like you said, Courtney, I think you put it so perfectly. Some of us are giving because we don't think we're valuable. That's the metric. That's the metric we use to determine our value, is how much we can give.
Yeah.
Everything.
And prove your value in people's lives.
Exactly.
I think a huge thing in terms of investing in yourself emotionally, you need to go to therapy, sis, right?
Oh, yeah.
Explore. Link is in the description. You know, we've got 10% off your first month, so you could just dip your feet into it, get started on that journey. But therapy has really helped me understand, especially if you go back and you watch our generational trauma episode, you'll realize that what we're talking about is unlearning certain behaviors, which you said this earlier. You put it so beautifully. Your behaviors and the efforts that you're making right now will echo through space and time. If you don't spend time actually investing in yourself emotionally and taking the time, actually pausing life to assess, why am I here? How did I get here? Where am I trying to go? And how do I get there? If you don't walk that through with actual conscious, purposeful, what do we call it? Intentional effort, it's not going to happen accidentally.
Absolutely.
Just because you desire to glow up and level up and stuff like this, it takes deep rooted work, painful work that is really kind of sometimes emotionally draining, but also it's rewarding, but it's not pretty.
It's really not pretty. It definitely isn't. And it was funny because I was literally just thinking of like my mother as you were speaking, because she's very... I love her to death. She is so compassionate.
Yes, mama.
To the point of like, she will put another person before her well-being. And I think that's definitely a trait that I've inherited from her.
Right.
But the problem is sometimes that can go a bit too far in the sense of like, as we were talking about like giving and stuff like that, right? Being very intentional about understanding what are your limits, not just boundaries, but also what's the limit? What's the, we can't go past this one,
boundaries.
Or else we have to call in, you know, the police.
We're crossing these boundaries.
You know, exactly. So being very intentional about understanding and being proactive with setting those boundaries before something bad does happen.
Yes.
And one of my mother's favorite sayings is, prevention is always better than the cure. I love that saying.
Yeah.
To this day, it's like one of my favorite sayings. How can you prevent these things from happening? What are the preventative measures you can take to ensure that these things don't happen, not just in your time, but in the times after you? Because as Courtney was saying, there are repercussions that will ripple across space and time. Not your space and not your time maybe, but somebody else. How can you set up what's the word for it? You know, like in a race, how can you set up a really good handover to the person coming up after you? How can you pass the baton? How can you make sure that somebody has a head start?
Yeah.
And often we think about this in materialistic terms of like wealth and, you know, all these possessions you can pass down, but your mind and your spirit, those are the things that people are born with. Like, how can you make sure that you're investing in yourself such that somebody else does not have a problem 10 years, 20, 30, 100 years down the line?
So good. So then I guess a question from that is, how do you balance, especially as two women of faith, as Christians, right? How do you balance selflessness and self-care? Because one thing that's really important, like you were saying, you need to make self-care a daily practice. Yeah. Like every day you need to put effort. Not a getaway trip, no, you need to make self-care a daily principle in your life. But how do you do that without falling into self-preservation, selfishness in a toxic way?
I love me.
Yeah, I love me. And you can't mess with my...
You can't mess with my what do you, feng shui?
Yeah, feng shui. Feng shui. All this energy. Yeah. But at the same, we were talking, there's a episode we did, I can't remember, I think it was Getting Over Heartbreak or something like that. And I was talking about how people can sometimes build walls and not boundaries. how do you live a life that is full of self-care, right? And loving, self-love, without keeping people out because of fear of them hurting you. Because sometimes when people talk about boundaries, some people build boundaries to a point where it's like, how can you function in community with this many boundaries? How do you let people in? You ain't this ain't boundaries. You are in a fort. You have built yourself.
Not a fort.
A fort.
Not a castle.
But yeah, how do you balance self-care and self-love? I'm sorry, no. How do you balance self-care and self-love with not being selflessness, you know?
I think that, I mean, being women of faith, examine the heart. Where is the root of all of these actions and the things that you're doing, right? Because even thinking about something like selflessness, being or manifesting what looks like selflessness sometimes actually comes from a place of selfishness. So, you know, a lot of people, like we spoke about it just exactly as we were saying, where giving is not necessarily about the other person, but more so a validation metric for ourselves. It's all about your motives, your intentions, and being very, very proactive about examining yourself. I think, listen, this is Courtney's favorite term, self-awareness. Put
it on a mug, baby.
You need to know yourself in order to be able to enact self-love as well as selflessness. Both of the words have self in them. Some of y'all don't know yourself. You can't enact nothing.
It's a good point. You a stranger to your own self. You a stranger
to yourself. So something that looks like self-love to you could be self-abuse. Something that looks selfless to you could be selfishness. So I think really we need to start with, who am I? Doing the deep work of understanding who oneself is. And then understanding, what are my motivations for doing certain things? So I think in that, I guess, dichotomy, because I think selflessness actually flows from knowing thyself and flows from self-love. Because how can you be selfless if you don't show your self-love in the first place?
See, this is something that I actually learned from you. We had a conversation last year and I was really struggling with this idea of how do you balance self-care but not being selfish, especially if, as people who believe living a sacrificial, selfless life is really important to the human experience. And you said something, which is, I pour into myself so that I can pour into others, right? And you were saying how if I'm going to give to you, I have to invest in myself what I can give to you, right? So the whole reason why I am caring for myself is so that I can care for you. And sometimes it's not this binary like dichotomy. It's actually one cannot exist without the other, like you're saying. That was a really powerful thing to me, because sometimes we can see us investing in ourselves is time taken away from investing in other people, right? If I take 2 hours in the gym, that's 2 hours I might not be doing my work, or I might not be showing up for a friend or a family member who needs me. But actually, I need those 2 hours so that when I do show up for you, I'm showing up well.
Wow, I said that.
Girl, you changed my whole life. That conversation. It must be somewhere on Instagram, maybe on the Zoe page. But yeah, like
Renee from the past. Okay, good.
You were straight spitting. You were straight spitting.
But no, exactly that, right? We've all heard the saying of, you can't give or pour out from an empty cup. And oftentimes we're meant to give from a place of overflow. Some of us are running on empty. We need to down 999. And some of you guys, like, we're literally running on residual energy to the point that even when we are being quote unquote selfless, as you were saying, you're not showing up as your best. You're distracted, you're tired, you're upset because you haven't given yourself time to actually chill out, to the point where when you do show up for your friend is like, you might as well have not been here at all.
Go home.
Go home.
Be alone.
Have you ever had that moment where you're so tired and you're meant to show up for something and you're not there?
Useless. Honestly, I can't give you anything. I'm on E.
I'm
empty.
You know when your phone battery is on like 2%?
Don't ask me to do nothing.
Your power bar is yellow.
Red even is red. It's so true.
You want to be out here talking about giving.
So then let's talk about that then, the glow up spiritually. What does that look like? Because I think about I guess the spiritual, like we've said, we're both Christians, but spiritual element in terms of gaining confidence, intrinsic value, things like that. But also, I feel like setting boundaries is a spiritual thing.
Oh, 100%.
Because if I'm going to decide that I'm going on this journey, not just of growing for myself, but like we're saying with generational trauma, this is literally, when you said this will echo through space and time, she threw my whole mind off balance, yeah? But in that, me choosing to then journey with people through relationship, we actually need to, like, even in the dilemma, right? The people that we choose to do life with, the reason why we set these standards is because we understand the gravity of this journey called life and wanting to make impact or achieve certain goals. That's a spiritual thing. So then how do you glow up in gaining confidence and then setting boundaries?
Yeah, no, I love the fact that you said boundaries are spiritual, because it's true. Everything that you allow into your space and into your life will have consequences and ramifications. Maybe you won't see it now, but you'll see it definitely in 5 or 10 years.
Facts.
Even if the person was there for a season, they'll always teach you something.
Yes. Ooh.
Every single person you allow into, and this is not for you to become extremely guarded and build walls, but it's to build boundaries so that you can do the necessary checks and balances before you allow somebody into your space. In the same way that when you call up your bank or do online banking, they have to do checks and balances to allow you to access your account. You need to be able to carry that out for the people in your life.
That
before you let somebody who's fraudulent in. Or worse, broken.
Broken.
I don't know if you've ever seen like the images of like, you know, like matchsticks and how quickly they catch fire when you literally insert like one bad match.
Yeah.
Or the fact that, what's that saying? Bad character corrupts
good morals.
Yeah. It only takes one. And this is not that you should, you know, feel fearful in letting people in, but you should be mindful. Be very, very mindful. So in doing that, setting boundaries, in glowing up spiritually, you need to assess and understand what are the frameworks that you are going off of. What are your values? So like, for example, sis in the dilemma, she was like, these are my values. This guy clearly does not fit my values. Should I break up with him, or should we continue? The fact and the reason why it almost came across as a no-brainer for us is because she had those values. Some of you folks will not be able to recognize when there is a bad apple in your life because you don't have the necessary discernment as a result of having values, deep spiritual values, to be able to say and identify those things. And worse still, because you don't have those things, you might be the bad apple.
Okay.
So a lot of us, it's tight. It's real tight.
Go there.
I didn't want to go there today.
You gotta go there.
I gotta go there today. I don't want to go there. Word to Chris Brown. Some of us are out here searching for bad apples when the common denominator in all of our failed relationships and problems are us. So if you are going to set values, if you are going to set frameworks, you need to do the work of understanding, where have I too gone wrong? Where are my toxic behaviors? Where have I not showed up for somebody?
Or where am I letting myself down?
Precisely. Some of y'all have been bad apples. Some of you guys have been bad apples.
And this is the pain of self-awareness, because you start to realize, I need to do some deep-rooted work here.
I do.
Because I'm not perfect, right? Oh, I love that you said that, especially because as women, sometimes we can absolve ourselves of that responsibility and that accountability because we can kind of make it up and make it look pretty with our service to other people. You know, I'm a good friend. I've got friends. I'm in a romantic relationship. Okay. All these things that we use to prove to ourselves that we're okay when actually we're suffering with a lot of dysfunctions that are going unaddressed in the form of bad character.
Your character sucks. Ooh. And the worst thing is, character is something that often comes out as a result of being tested. Some of you will think that you have good character until you're tested. It's the same. It's like looking at two trees, for example. You will only know which one is broken inside when the weather comes in. When the storm comes, are you able to stand? Was the foundation that you built actually good?
Yeah.
Was it sturdy?
And that's why this tough season you're in, sis, don't fight it.
Don't fight it.
Don't fight it. Let it show you what you're made of.
Literally. And some of y'all ain't made for some things. And that's okay. I was there.
Sorry, that is so funny. Some of y'all ain't made for it.
I was there. It's literally, listen, there was one of my like favorite quotes is she looked into the depths of the abyss and the abyss looked back at her. Sometimes like stormy weathers don't show you who people are, it shows you who you are. And you need to pay attention to what is being revealed about yourself. And this is purely like because I've been doing a really, really intense look into my character recently, especially over the past few months. And there's certain things about myself that I've seen that I don't like.
Me too, sis.
It sucks.
Right there with you.
It really sucks.
It's ugly. We'll be the first to say it.
It really sucks. Like being super like transparent. Some of the characteristics that I noticed about myself, like being the kind of person that, you know, clams up or like shuts down in the face of, you know, extremely traumatic situations, right? And having to deal with that through therapy and understanding why is it that my response to trauma is to shut down or to try and block out. And it's literally a, what do you call it? It's one of those mechanisms that you use to protect yourself,
Defense mechanism.
Defense mechanism, right? So that in the event of like a potential traumatic episode, my response is just, I'm not talking or like I shut down. Goodbye. I'm just, it's better that this doesn't happen, right? Glowing up sometimes doesn't start with you going up. You got to go down.
No. Wait.
God, stop gassing, I swear.
Bring the offering plate now.
I am sick of you.
She said sometimes glowing up doesn't mean you're going up. Sometimes you need to go down.
Courtney, please don't kill me today. Don't kill me today. No,
Renee, you just said out a whole bunch of stuff. But that...
But it's so true. We always think we're going on an upward trajectory.
Nah.
Sometimes we... Stop. Sometimes we got to go down. Sometimes you will be crying on your bedroom floor, weeping.
With everything in you.
There have been times where I have journaled and I'm just like, damn, there are parts of myself that suck.
Broken.
Suck.
And you're hurt and you're in pain.
Bruh.
Yes, you've got to work through all of that, sis.
Bruh. Like really deep, there are some things that some of us are hiding or things that we have done that if you sat down and really meditated on it, you'll be like, wow, I really reached a low here. That wasn't who I wanted to be, but you've got to sit with it. You've really got to sit with it. In one of my really wacky professors back in the day in my postgrad degree, he was like, I tell a story about this guy till now. And one of the lessons that he did, he said something super, super profound. Because we were working through a really like super philosophical text about like the oppressed, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he basically said to us, sometimes you have to sit with your discomfort. You have to sit with it. You actually have to sit with it. Sometimes like, forget working through it. Sometimes you just got to sit with it. Some of us have done some very bad things. Some of us have done some very bad things to ourselves. Yeah. And sometimes you've got to sit with that discomfort first and really feel it and process it and then build. Yeah. But you got to break. That's the important thing. You got to break to build. Because you're not starting with a blank. You're literally not starting with a blank canvas. This is it. Your canvas is dirty. All of us, like and I think it really affects women because functioning as a woman in this society, you always have to be very, as you said, cosmetic, right? Yeah. You always have to be that person that presents as everything is going great, especially online and
smile.
Stuff. All of this stuff. You can cover up. You can whitewash that canvas, but it's still dirty. Your sheets are dirty and you need to wash it.
It has been touched by the experiences of life, baby girl.
And that's okay. Because that's most people.
You have actually wrecked me. Because it's so, and this is what's so powerful about sisterhood, because these are things people don't want to talk about. Bruh. That hurt and that pain. And the thing is, we can't even, I'm not going to sit on camera and talk about the dark stuff that I've done, the deep pain that I've gone through. And I'm not going to tell you, our sisters to do that either, but you got to live with that. And here we're telling you, it's okay. We've all been through reckless stuff.
Bruh.
It's okay for you to, in fact, you need to process through that.
Bruh.
You need to go through that. If we're going to talk about the glow up, please don't put shiny highlighter on all of this BS. Please don't do it. Please don't cover up the muck and the poop.
Do you know, I was about to say the best analogy, yeah?
Don't put glitter on poo. Don't do that.
It's like, Courtney, don't kill me. You know when you go to the bathroom, yeah, and someone has like...
Sorry, it's just because it happened to me last week. I literally walked into a toilet and I thought, what has somebody been going through? When you walk into a toilet and it's like, Courtney, what do you eat? We need to ask ourselves.
Courtney, you will not succeed in killing me today. Oh my God.
And then someone will have the cheek to speak. Not flowery poop. Ew. It's horrible.
Oh, R.I.P. Renee. R.I.P. Renee.
God forbid.
This is it. It's like going to the bathroom and using like air freshener to try and clean up the scent. It's an affront. It's an offense.
It's toxic. Don't do that.
It's an offense.
Just air it out.
Open the window.
Please. I beg of you.
Did you think no one would notice?
We can smell it. It's not nice.
Or it's like, you know when you need to clean your room and you just kick it
under the bed, pack it into the wardrobe. Literally, I have this video on my channel from way back, probably one of the first videos I meant that anger is a horrible smell. And I talked about it's like locking something away in a closet and then everyone else, you get so used to the smell.
Yep.
But everyone else who comes near you, they can smell it. Bruh. And it's offensive. But it's so easy to ignore because that's what you're used to. And we don't think about these things as festering. We think we're over it because we're ignoring it. You're not over it.
That's so good.
You're carrying it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And
we have it all today.
Too. Bruh. And you're hiding it too. Even the way that you're walking, like this load, this burden that's on your back, just because you've adjusted to the weight doesn't mean you should be carrying it.
Just because you've adjusted to the weight doesn't mean you should be carrying it.
Some of us are carrying loads,
that we should not be carrying.
We should not be carrying. And we're even looking for folks to like rest the load on, but the load shouldn't exist in the first place. So you've got to deal with it.
This is a whole new convo in itself.
We need to get the Hoover in the room. Okay, you can't kick the ice. Glad. You know when you get a drink and the ice overflows, you can't kick the ice underneath the fridge. You can't do that. We've seen you.
This is what I mean by glowing up and leveling up. It's not pretty.
It's not pretty. It's not pretty. It's not the pink and nude brown aesthetics.
Come on.
It's not.
The teal background.
Even thinking about going back to physically, for example, real quick. The fact that we're always seeing our Fitspos and stuff wearing like really cute, workouts. Sometimes I'm there in the gym wigless.
I look ugly.
I'm in the gym wigless with my braids.
Honest to God, if you see me in the gym, just know we're both there in transparency.
In fact, don't say hello.
No, say hello, but just know I don't look like this. So I know you're probably there. Is that her? It's me.
It is, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But this is what it looks like.
That's
the process of transformation is
If you are going to say hello, just be aware. Yeah. Yeah, right.
Take me as I am.
Take me as I am. And as I am doesn't always look pretty or polished or has makeup on or stuff like that.
And in fact, don't apologize for it.
This is the thing.
Don't apologize for it.
This is the thing. You got to take me in all phases, honey.
But also you have to learn to accept yourself in all
those phases too. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you only love yourself in one phase, boy, oh boy, only God can save you when you leave that phase. You've literally idolized.
Or if you stay in it.
You've idolized a fragment of yourself and you love a fragment of yourself and not the whole.
Not the whole thing. Goodness me. I don't even know. Wow, this episode wasn't meant to go here.
But we went there.
I feel like
it needed to go there.
Okay, I guess for encouragement then.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the practical encouraging tips of moving forward.
Yeah.
How do you move forward in dealing with the discipline that it takes, dealing with the impatience sometimes, dealing with kind of the external pressures? How do we move forward in leveling up so that this journey of growing and glowing is a healthy one and a fruitful one?
So first I'll deal with the externalities versus the internal stuff, and then we'll talk about the practicalities. So understanding that this is a journey whereby it's not necessarily about shutting out the externalities completely. It's about what weight and what value do you attach to the internal versus the external in motivating you. As we were saying earlier on in the episode, if you are trying to, for example, look better by going to the gym or like eating more healthy, or you're trying to, you know, level up in the bank account or whatever you want to do, cool. It's fine to have motivation and inspirations and all of that good stuff. But if these outweigh how you're feeling internally about yourself, and if these outweigh the singular motivation that should be yourself and wanting the best for yourself and love for yourself, then that's where we need to start before we start bringing all of the practicalities. So that's what I would start with the external versus the internal. Now being practical. Once you know yourself, it makes it extremely easy to set up habits for success. Yes. Because many of us, and we've spoken about this at length in another episode, but willpower versus habits. Your willpower will not get you through. Let me tell you something.
Not at all.
I don't know if you think that, you know, you will have willpower when it is, you know, I don't know, 7 p.m, you haven't eaten and Nando's is calling you. Nando's is calling you, not you're even calling Nando's.
They're calling you, whispering your name.
Do you think that your willpower will see you through?
Yeah.
Or if you're the kind of person that is like, you're dealing with temptation, the answer is not always willpower. Sometimes discipline doesn't always look like the enacting of your willpower. It's simply falling back on habits. So for example, if I'm in a phase where I'm trying to like lose weight or something like that, I know myself. I like chocolate. I like ice cream. I like kind of sweets. I like sweet things because I'm sweet. I'm sweet like sweet things. I like it. If I know I like these things, I'm going to make it more difficult for me to get these things. They're not in my house. Point 100%. Blank period. Or if you are, I don't know what other example I could potentially draw on. If you're the kind of person that likes to beat yourself up, for example, internally, you have to be very proactive about setting a time that you talk to yourself each day. It doesn't have to be 6 a.m. in the morning. Sometimes we've glorified that whole waking up early in the morning.
100%.
Some of you, your productivity won't be in the morning. So optimize for that.
I'm so glad because free yourself from the bondage of other people's daily routines. Just because somebody who is successful told you, I wake up at 5 a.m., your body is not the same.
This is it.
Sometimes you'll be telling people, you know, okay, I wake up at 9 a.m. How can you expect to be productive at 9 a.m.? Okay, Sherlock.
First of all,
when you're asleep, that's when I'm productive. And I've learnt that for myself.
This is it.
That's okay.
Optimize for who you are. Set yourself up for success by forming habits and making sure that you've optimized as a result of knowing yourself. Stop trying to go against your body. Stop trying to go against your soul and spirit. Stop trying to go against your mind when you know it's not going to work.
Especially in the name of it worked for somebody else.
And so?
It doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
And so? You've just got to set. You've got to choose. And I would say start small as well. Don't be tempted to do the huge transformations because it will never end well. Unless you are willing to, you know, fall back on your willpower. We've just spoken about that. We've just spoken about it.
It doesn't really work.
It doesn't work all the time. And this is not to say that you're not a strong, independent, In fact, this is to say you're not a strong, independent. You're not all the time.
You're in progress. Like you're progressing.
Exactly this. And then I would say practically set up metrics for success that are actually realistic. And this is where you need to do your research. Realistic. Okay. Having a Fitspo or an Inspo or somebody that you look to is not research.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good.
That's a parasocial relationship.
Oh!
It's It's a parasocial relationship. I can't tell you how many times, Courtney, I've come across folks that are like, oh, I want to like look fitter. I'll be like, okay, cool. So what do you know about, you know, the process of getting fit? Oh, well, there's this one fitness YouTuber. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, what else have you done?
What else have you done? If you're really committed to this process, what other factors have you taken into account? What other research have you done? What other bits of knowledge have you acquired to help you put your best foot forward?
Yeah.
Even when we're thinking about things like a mental glow up. Okay, cool. You've watched one sermon. What else?
Okay, this is a perfect... This episode is already so long, but we need to talk about that. Your transformation and your leveling up is not going to happen overnight. Okay. And it is a core part of people's frustrations. That impatience, please, it's about developing daily and new learned habits and behaviors that you intentionally enforce over long periods of time.
Cease and desist. Immediately. No, immediately.
It's important because it's easy to get so frustrated. I've been doing this for a month now. Why isn't it working? You're talking about change, undoing decades of learned behavior and damage, and re-establishing patterns that are going to last you through the rest of your life. You are changing your entire life's trajectory. Do you think that's going to be easy? Be patient with yourself, please, sis. Give yourself grace. Realize you're on a journey. Please, you're worth the patience. I beg of you, you are worth the patience. Be patient. Because as we mentioned in another episode, the goal is to maintain, is to sustain. I want to be a sustainer.
We don't want just the result. We want to be a sustainer.
Yeah.
Because what's the point if you get to a particular point and then you're just like, what next? And you just literally undo everything that you worked for.
I love that.
Sustain. Wow. Man.
We really got into it.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Well, this is quite a sobering one. I understand if you're logging off this video thinking these people have ruined my life. And you know what? It's fine. You know?
We're not sorry.
We aren't.
No.
This is the beginning of a beautiful but sometimes hard journey.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We're here to do this journey with you. So on that note, please tell us how you plan on leveling up. Your thoughts on today's conversation. What have you been doing to improve on yourself? And what has been the biggest challenge on your self-improvement journey? You can talk to us in the comments on YouTube. I even feel just so somber.
Don't shout at us in the comments there.
I beg of you, please. Don't come for us. We tried. We are also growing.
This feels like the end of the Avengers.
Yeah, like a bit of it feels like the end of Infinity War, where it's like, oh, thought this would end up a bit more positively, but actually it's revealed there needs to be a part 2.
It's like, oh damn, I'm cracked
again. But yeah, no, on a real though, talk to us in the comments here on YouTube. If you were listening to us on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else where you listen to podcasts, you can run over to the YouTube comments and talk to the other sisters, but you can also come and talk to us over on Instagram by @ing us at To My Sisterhood, and you can come and talk to us individually, of course, at CD Boating and at Renee Kapuku.
And of course, if you are not part of the sisterhood on the mailing list, I feel even awkward having to do this day. This is just for the benefit of the new sisters, because I know there are some of you guys that are listening in that have been on that mailing list. We see you. If you're new to the sisterhood, then by all means join our exclusive mailing list, where we'll be dropping this week some tips for leveling up and doing that dirty work. So make sure that you sign up to the mailing list. The link will be below. And of course, dearest sisters, please take care of yourselves. Please take care of yourselves. And we will see you for yet another episode next week. And of course, keep glowing and growing.